Yes, it's 5:33 on December 12, 2022. I, Paula Ferrario, Chair of the Historical Commission, call this meeting to order in the great city of Holyoke. So we are going to start with CPA. And if you look at the workflow for CPA, and Bill, maybe you can tell me if you heard from CPA Commission too. Technically, between November, December, and January, Megan, and applicants have to sit down to decide a little bit about a preservation restriction.
For every project?
No,
No.
only projects where it's required. So
Okay.
of course, building.
Okay.
We're not putting preservation restriction on city hall documents. But I figure also 106, 120 High Street ask us for a letter of support for tax credit. So I hope they're gonna talk a little bit about their scope of work.
Okay.
So we can do that. And I think we can have a little bit of a discussion about what you would like to see. What do you think will keep the building historically significant? So I can report to Megan, and also then we can work at the preservation restriction. So a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So welcome all. And for 106, 120 High Street, we have Bill Womerdorf, Vadim, can you say your last name?
Of course, Tolchinsky.
Forshansky, and Alec.
Yes, hey everybody. Sorry, my mic is just on my phone right now.
Of course. Alec, what's your last name?
Busey. Do you need me to spell it?
No, that's okay.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay. Yep.
I have email with the full last name, but I don't want to name anybody's name tonight. Bill, are you going to start with your presentation?
Yes, and I will take only as much time as you allot for me.
Just
I don't wanna-
tiny.
So,
Now it's better. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, this is nice.
Can you see the screen too?
Okay. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I have to share still. So
What is not working?
No, we just had some issues. That mic's not working, but everything else is fine.
Oh, so
We're
the
good.
recording
Yeah,
is being
yep,
recorded.
yep, we're
Very
good.
good.
We're good.
Okay, Bill, what is your idea presentation time? How much time have you put aside for it?
I mean, I think it should be pretty brief. I think I want to say 15 minutes off the top of my guess. But
If you can keep it under 15 would be great.
yeah, I'm gonna try to keep it for sure under 15.
Okay.
That way we can have time for dialogue. I know I looked at the agenda, you have a packed agenda, so I don't want to take up more time than is needed.
And you have the floor.
Excellent. And I think I can share. Oop, no, it still says disabled.
Yeah.
Let me know when you.
Let's see if you have administrative privileges.
Not yet. I'm going to keep pressing it to see. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Okay. So just very quickly updates. First off, we submitted for the National Park Service our project. So we're waiting to hear back from them, hopefully in the next few weeks. Right now it's with Mass Historic for commentary. We did review the DCP report and analyzed it. We discovered, I think, 4 areas to discuss, and I think that's really the premise of the discussion here. I think we all agree that most of the front of the facade is in line with what we all agree with. I think it's just the back that has some areas of comments. The 4 items I noted here were the infill of rear openings on the back facade. The second item was the removal of this existing incinerator chimney. The third is on the existing cementitious parge on the back facade. And the fourth one is the construction of the rear balcony and I think particularly the staircase that comes out on the side facade. My goal for this presentation is to just bring everybody up to speed on why some of the decisions were made. And I think, you know, some flexibility on maybe modifying some of these ones where it better fits the commission's goals. So I'll dive in, and each one will have kind of a more description if folks aren't familiar with the particular item. The first one is on the back facade of the building. There's some of these existing doors and blocked openings. They were like this when we bought the building in 2019. And I think they were like that before for, I want to say, since the furniture store. But we weren't able to figure out good photography of the back of the building. There's a lot on the side and the front, but not a lot on this particular angle. We did want to kind of clue everybody in on what is behind these walls. So this is the first floor, and then this is the basement level. The second floor roof deck is right here. The back of these buildings, two of them are like a commercial kitchen with like a hood and like a cook line. And then the 120 high, and apologies, this is kind of flip-flop, but I think you can follow along, is we have restroom facilities on the back. It seems like, you know, in theory, we could put windows in on the basement openings. But it seems like we wouldn't want to put windows in on this first floor for, you know, some of these obvious reasons. I think the placement of these equipment is kind of in the location that fits best for the egress. It's kind of like a puzzle on the second floor between the 10-foot clearances you need on the exhaust hood on where allowable areas would be for that. And most of them having them on the backmost elevation of the building was really the only way to have kitchen equipment incorporated in. For us, getting the restaurants into the building was a big goal of the project. We really wanted to put the extra investment in on the restaurants in order to, you know, bring more restaurants and eateries into downtown. We can discuss, I think, the items all after. I'm just going to kind of highlight each one and kind of why we came up with them. The second is this incinerator on the back of the building. It was once used, as we understand it to be, for burning, I want to say trash, although I think the commission may know more on it. We did have discussions with the DPW and the fire department in regards to the removal of it. Their concern was that the property line is right where my cursor is on kind of the backmost elevation of the building. So it does encroach into this kind of emergency access area. We did get permission to add this propane tank, and largely the reason was because this incinerator is here. So it's not like it's making it any more challenging for emergency vehicles. I do think there's a case for it to remain in with the project. We did talk with our mason, and the cost to remove it versus the cost to repair it is about the same. So we could talk more about it after the discussion, but I think keeping it is something we would be definitely curious to entertain further.
And Bill,
Well, can I just ask a quick question? Just looking at this structure, why is the first floor considered the basement?
Yeah, so the building it walks out kind of on the rear. So Oliver Street's kind of at a pitch like this, and the basement kind of walks out on the rear. So the first floor looks to be elevated from the back alleyway. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, now that I know, I'm thinking where it is. So okay. So but then there's just the first, and there is a second floor visible on High Street?
On High Street or the back alleyway?
Well, what we see from the back is just the basement and the first floor.
Yeah, I can show you a quick context here. So here's the block of buildings that collectively make up Wright's block. Right here, the storefront is the first floor, but then on the back, the storefront is kind of like what you would call the second level, but it is just because the grade slopes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep. And just to clarify too, all the openings on the second, third, fourth floor are all going to be historically matching windows. I think it's the areas on this back part of the building, which, we're not really hoping to touch significantly due to the nature of the project being on a more upper level. But because the preservation restriction would encompass the entire building, I think that was really the big question mark for our project, particularly that we're hoping to kind of work through.
And Bill, quickly, so if you decide if we could keep the incinerators, we would have to intercede for you with the fire department and DPW probably and explain that they're historical structures.
Yeah, I think they would, I think understanding the historical context of them, I think they would approve them to stay. I think their discussion was just to show that a fire truck can go around the incinerator. And if that's the case, I think they would agree to keep it.
Great.
I'm going to move on. So the third item on here is the existing parge on the rear facade. Here's kind of what it looks like currently. It's exposed brick in some locations, but then there's this like cementitious parge on some other areas of the building. I think the reason for this in this area was that behind this part is all CMU block. I think at one point this basement was opened up. It's a little easier to see on this next slide. This would be kind of like CMU block behind the parge. In addition to that, these windows are also CMU blocked. So I think I'm definitely interested in removing the parge in its entirety, because I agree that the parge I don't think is the best from a weatherization perspective. There is additional cost with exposing all the brick here. I think the question for me is, what do we do with these blocked windows? We've had kind of various back and forth discussions with our consultant who's preparing a lot of the historical applications, and where we left it was because we can't find evidence on how this back was originally used. We want to just kind of focus our attention on the other areas of the building and not try to come up with a solution on the back, and more or less just do something kind of clean and neat that also provides the protection for the building structure over time. The proposal is to remove the parge and then repoint the brick and do a new, like a cementitious stucco, like a modern stucco over it. I'm definitely open to removing the stucco and just keeping the repointed brick. But I think the discussion, this is I think the main discussion to have is that acceptable for the commission? So I'll save that thought. You can kind of linger on it for a minute as I touch base on the final piece. This is a part of the third piece here, which is the back facade. It's just closing the loop that these would be historical windows on the what is the second floor, and then we would keep the first floor pretty much as it is, except for cleaning up this back egress, and then I think a new door in the basement, with the idea that we don't want to do something that's new that's going to reduce from the historical context as it is now. I suggested painting these block openings some sort of color like brown to kind of help them blend in more, but it was recommended to just keep them as they are. But I think that's a discussion that we could have.
And Bill, quick question, those window opening, there is no steel right on the top of the window. It's the arch brick that maintains the strength of if it were to be open. but there would be a risk of a collapse, right? If you were to take those concrete bricks out.
Yes, there's definitely a risk of it. I think, we do have that detail proposed from our structural engineer on the upper floors, doing a new lintel in here. Some of them do have a decorative arch on like the first width of the brick, but then after that, there's like a wood lintel that supports kind of like a back one, but not in all instances. It's a weird building. Throughout the whole course of the project, we found that each tower is different, leading to the complexity. I'm going to go through the last item real quick, just because each of them kind of touch on each other. The fourth item is the construction of the rear balcony for the egress of the upper levels. We were able to find some evidence of the porches originally from some of the Sanborn maps, as you can see here. I think the porches from the back of the facade are less of the concern. I think the and the doorways to it we're going to remain those in the same historic locations. I think the big concern is right now how people would get off the roof in the prior use was through this fire escape in the back of the building, which is right here in plan view. We can't use that one anymore, largely because the fire escape doesn't meet the current codes. I guess it's leaning towards not doing this kind of blast fire rail. And the other big reason we can't do a staircase in the same location is because the need for egress is to be covered for the building department. Kevin, the new acting commissioner, told me that he's fearful of people in the winter having to egress through the roof deck when it's covered in snow. So he wants it to be hugged to the side of the building where it could be all covered. And that was really the reason for this design here, was to kind of ensure the safety of the occupant when they're discharging out in a case of an emergency. We did originally explore, and we had it in here for a little bit, was having it right where my cursor is. But my thought on it was that it would cause more changes to the side of the facade here that it wasn't desired. And I think added some complexity into the alleyway, which the lot line is only right here. So it's the planning department didn't want us to create new exits on the alleyway. I think the existing ones are sufficient for them, but they don't want us to see us continue to use the alleyway for new construction.
So there's just the one on this one side of three buildings.
Correct. And even the fourth building, to some degree, discharges out this door as well. And then it comes out here. That egress is, I think, 44 inches wide. So it's sufficient for the occupancy load. And it also meets the IBC exit access travel distance for R2. Which I think is about 250 up until the exit balcony. And then from there, there's a booster that allows you another, I think, 50 or 75 feet. So that's largely the reason for the egress on this side. We do agree that it does change the side facade facing Oliver Street. But because there wasn't a building there historically, we find that it's really the best option for us that doesn't change any other parts of the building that are, historically significant. I think the last aspect on this that was a concern was to make this exit in such a manner that it doesn't degrade the facade of the historic building. So we are planning to have this egress as a freestanding structure that just kind of touches into the building, that doesn't, obstruct or destroy the existing brickwork. And hopefully that would kind of be a compromise to allow this as an exception. And that's my spiel here. So I think everything else, I think we all agree that we love the project, especially I think the restoration of the front facade of the building. I think it's just those 4 items that I discussed with us here that I think I wanted to bring everybody up to speed on the prior dialogue. That way we can decide on if there is still any outstanding issues to discuss.
Great. If Commissioner want to make comments or have questions.
I have a quick question just regarding accessibility. And I apologize if this has been addressed because I know you guys have been presenting a number of times, and I'm also with the CPA, so I've definitely seen you present. So this first ramp, I mean, other than this ramp to this sort of platform area, are there notable, anything else notable regarding handicap accessibility?
Yes, so these 3 storefronts currently have an accessible entrance. It's this one right here that does not have the accessible entrance. And that's the one that we're looking to solve with this ramp.
Okay.
It largely mimics the same kind of configuration as the Clover, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, this is actually something that for the 2 that we renovated in a significant way, the 2 in the middle, we added the wheelchair access in the front.
Great.
For this 3rd one, we found it was kind of cost prohibitive, but it was something that we still wanted to do. So that this deck was always in the planning stages kind of since then, with the idea of so that all 4 storefronts could be wheelchair accessible.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and this deck actually came out of COVID too, from a resiliency perspective of having some outdoor area.
And so you would have, that door doesn't exist now, am I correct? You would have to open the door in the building.
That's correct. Yeah, this would be a
Okay.
new door right here and then a new covering.
I don't have any questions. No. Very impressive.
Yeah, we're very excited. We're rapidly answering and kind of moving forward with the project, and I'm 100% confident that we'll get it shovel ready hopefully in the coming months. So I appreciate all the time here.
Right, just one question.
Of course.
Can we possibly get a tour at some point?
Of course.
So, and just a few comments. So I think the removal of the stock of the pargin is great. I think it would be really great. And I think that would make you eligible for more money from CPA if possible. The other thing is, yeah, I'd love to see the incinerator stay. And in terms of the handicap accessible door, it is my understanding that accessibility always comes before preservation. So I think, and it seems very non-intrusive in terms of the building.
Definitely.
So I don't think Mass Historic would complain
Make
about
sure.
that.
Mhm. Yeah, that was what my last thing was. I was going to say is at the end of the day, Mass Historic is going to do a very detailed review and issue their approval. They may have some changes that they want to see, but at the end of the day, hopefully we'll have all that for the CPA hearing as well. So
And Bill, I apologize. It's been a bit of a long day. So that I'm clear, will all the window on the back stay closed, or the upper floor will be regular historic window, and then you will keep the first and basement floor closed?
correct. So the second, third, and fourth floor will all be new historic windows in their original openings. The first floor will remain as we bought the building with just the blocked openings.
And that is good, because I think, even if they're closed, it goes to legibility of the building. And I don't think you're compromising the legibility of the building in that way,
And I think we can plan to keep the incinerator too. I talked with the team on that one as well. So we're happy to include that into the project.
For your letter for tax credits, couple of things. So I understand you brought the soul food restaurant in, you solicited to come in so that it would be on High Street. And did you go and solicited the other businesses too, or did they just come?
I'll let Vadim speak on that one because he did an excellent
Yeah.
job as our leasing coordinator for those spaces.
Yeah, I can speak to those. So the soul food restaurant, we went out and actively knocked on their door to get them to come in. The co-op kitchen was a collaboration. They were brought into us by a leasing broker. I think we sort of had some mutual connections, but the majority of the credit goes to the broker. And then the third one, I think it was somebody local that actually put us in touch. The Boogaloo Cafe, the one on the corner, the one that is going to get the ramp/outdoor deck. The owner proprietor of that is a real sweetheart. She's local. She lives in Holyoke. She works in Holyoke, and yeah, they were introduced to us. I think, honestly, I forget who, but somebody local. So it was sort of a combination.
Mhm.
But we had gone out and tried to solicit a bunch of other restaurants that were also interested, but ultimately we filled the spaces. So
Great. And let me think. That's good. And do you know the day in January when your letter is due for?
Yeah, the 15th is when the mass historic tax credits are due.
Perfect.
Ideally, maybe like a week beforehand would be great, just so
Yep.
we can assign
Excellent.
each other.
Very good. So I'm just checking a couple of things here. December, January. Yeah, we're in good shape. Excellent. All right, so I'm satisfied. Are you all satisfied?
I mean, this could be a case study for us, how
Yes.
can be,
Perfection.
yeah.
Yes.
Especially the slides and like the progress and since the last meeting. I mean, really, it's very helpful, not just,
Fantastic job, yeah.
extremely helpful to recap in this way and bring us all up to speed. Thank you very, very much.
Yes. So great. So we'll work at your letter, and I think we're all set. And again, thank you for investing in Holyoke.
Mhm.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you. I'm gonna stick on just for a couple minutes just to see how the meeting runs, but I think unless
Sure.
unless you want me to take off.
No,
no. This is an open meeting, and we like to have people here. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm gonna put myself on mute and I'll leave at some point, but thank you again.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I'm gonna jump off, but thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
thank
Thank
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So I would like to have a quick discussion about late application for CPA,
Mhm.
because I want to communicate kind of strongly to CPA that I think we should push for a platform on their website where once the application can only be submitted through the website. And once the deadline comes, the application are closed.
Deadline. Yes.
So I was actually just sending in some, and these were not application, but recommendation letter for national grants for
Mhm.
people. And basically you can only upload the letter through the website.
Mhm.
And if you don't upload in time, it's closed. And I really would like to push for that. Also, Elana and I,
Mhm.
Meg McGrath, and I think she has a point. She was saying to us, and that connects with the discussion about requiring applicants to have a professional consultant when
Mhm.
they ask for CPA grant. Meg McGrath has a point, and she said, can you reach out to Ed Owen
Mhm.
with 120 Front Street? Because he got so frustrated with the process that he didn't show up, he didn't submit all the material. And actually, Elana and I tried to meet, and it didn't happen.
Mm.
And again, I think there really has to be an understanding that this is a lot of money. These are professional grants. And people have to be prepared or
Are you
have.
saying I know you said something about the 50,000. Are you saying?
So basically, I think if somebody asks for a renovation of a building,
No matter what, financially, what the figure is,
starting at 50,000.
50,000.
It might, as for me, I would even go 25,000.
Excuse
They
me.
would have to hire a consultant because I think probably it would be maybe $3,000 just to get them through the first phase of the application.
Mhm,
But if they're getting $150,000,
mhm.
also, I think it's very important if they have their own consultant, they will tell them,
Guide them.
explain them what CPA is,
Mhm.
that is getting funding to restore a building so that the community has access to a building that can be perceived as it look in its historic
Mhm.
form.
Yes.
And so I think I would really love to push for those two things with CPA. And
How many late applicants were there after the fact? Do we know?
there was the church, there was a congregation
Mhm,
that wanted money to redo the roof,
mhm,
and they never even submitted anything. So they submitted the preliminary application. They were told they qualify for preliminary application, and we didn't hear anything else from them. But one interesting thing, when we read and we have the preliminary application, you read it, they said, yeah, we'll the belfry and the roof are currently slate.
mhm.
And from the application, it feels like they were saying, yeah, we'll use appropriate material, but it sounds like they didn't quite know what they were.
Okay.
So they put in an application. It was no work for us, except for really try to solicit them
Mhm.
to, but then they disappear. Then there was 120 Front Street.
Mhm.
And then what happened was that Dennis, the owner of the Indian motorcycle dealership, apparently submitted an application, pre-application on time,
Mhm.
but CPA never received it because it went into the spam.
Junk mail or something. Okay.
And I think that basically what that suggests is a platform where that cannot happen. Application should not be sent by email.
Mhm.
The other thing was that
How can I just, but now you and I send reminders
to
along
everybody,
the way?
but we didn't send a reminder for the church on Pleasant for the
That
motorcycle,
we didn't.
because that
It was
was,
stopped.
yeah.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
but we sent a reminder to everybody.
Hmm.
And I actually really, Ed Owen was having a terrible time with the technology.
Mhm.
So I wrote him and he said to me, this is before the deadline. I'm just gonna give up. I asked him not to give up,
Mhm.
but he did. And I think it's very important that, again, we are seen as where the historical commission will give feedback. We look at this grant, we'll have to work with a PR,
Mhm.
determine history, but we are not the entity that
Correct.
helps them
Right,
apply.
right.
And that has to be very clear.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, that's CPAC, prerogative. They have to handheld people.
Mhm.
into the process. They have the funding, they have the staff, and they have to monitor this. I think the deadline is great. That it has to be clear for next year, but also like it's just our time as well.
Is there an actual flow chart attached to this process?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Like,
what is
No,
it?
no, no, where it says like, you've done this, now do this, this, and this, and if you
Yeah, yeah,
haven't.
yeah.
But that's
Okay.
all, Ilana, that's all. Once again, the committee,
No, 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 I understand. I just want to know, like, if it becomes its own platform where there isn't an invitation for things to go into a spam mailbox, or, where, like that anybody going to that site is going to be able to navigate it, even if they don't really have a lot of experience in that kind of thing. That's
Mhm.
what I was kind of asking for clarification about.
But
It's a pretty clear process as far as I can tell.
yes, but Elana, what it was interesting when we received the application, one of the things that we noticed is how many people don't know how to put together a PDF with multiple files. So just about all the historical application that we got, we didn't get, except for people who had professionals. All the people that apply on their own, just threw a bunch of documents to us via email.
Well, I think I have some feedback to give to CPA on Wednesday about this. It just feels like there should be at least some kind of arm of outreach around for business owners to access this information.
Yeah, and two more comments and we'll move forward. I think probably at a point, and we'll figure out which month, as the historical commission, we should definitely offer a workshop telling people what they need to do for our grants. And the second thing, I think one thing for next year I really want to do is hopefully talk to the Taxpayer Association, because they seem to have been very opposed to CPA. And again, it feels like they don't know what it is. So I would love to go and also talk to them and say, look, it is not true that it's super complicated, that they don't give them to entrepreneur. You have to know what this thing is.
No,
I think that conversation has already been had. As I think in the last year, I seem to recall the tax association being apprised of some of the projects and being very impressed with the use of that money, particularly for things like Scott's Tower. So I do recall hearing that feedback.
That's good, but I think it would be for next year a good gesture for us to ask to go in and talk in terms of historic grants and connect it to entrepreneurs. If you're an entrepreneur and you want an historic grant and you want tax credit, and just talk to them about what they are.
Mhm.
And I'm glad, Ilana, that they are impressed. So that's a good thing. Very good. So we can move right on the vote on item 3, which is a vote on historical significance for 348 Chestnut and 4852 Franklyn Street. And what happened, as you saw in your packet, when Attorney Degnan and I were working at the preservation restriction,
Mhm.
Attorney Degnan asked for the letter of historical, where the historical commission had determined
Right.
that the building was historic, and one didn't exist. So the letter that I put in your packet, and I can pull it right up,
Written by Debbie.
written by Debbie, which used to be the the staff for the historical commission. Let's see.
It's page 2 in the packet.
Here we go.
I don't understand. Can you repeat the context of this?
What?
Is what there's no what is missing here?
Okay, I'll show you. I think here, right? Sure. So this letter
Mhm.
that was sent to Alexander Jason, saying that the building is historically significant. If you look at the last, basically it writes, I would also bring to the CPC attention that this property is listed in the MA Cultural Resources Inventory System at HLY 1102, La France Block, circa 1933, and therefore is historically significant in the history of the city. She had no jurisdiction to say that, and Macris, just because a building is listed on Macris,
Right.
it doesn't mean that is historically significant. Within the parameters, the CPA allow for somebody to be historically significant. So we need to vote on the building. What?
What's the date?
The date is 2018. So, and Chris and I were on the commission, we never even saw this letter ever.
Were
No.
you in 2018?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So basically I included the latest evaluation form for the building, but it should have been declared historically significant when they first applied for CPA. It just slipped through the cracks. But I think, you know, it's incredibly loved by the community. Since 2018, more buildings have come down. So, but it's important that we have a discussion and take a vote on whether the building is historically important. If the commission thinks that the building is historically significant or not.
I mean, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
There's like, I don't see any, I don't have any doubts about this.
Mhm.
So we should, if there's any other comment, we should make a motion to make this happen.
Yeah. So I need a motion to declare, let me go,
348.
348 Chestnut and 4852. Oh, wrong address, Franklyn. They have to correct that. It's not Maple, it's Franklyn. Also known as La France Block, as historically significant for the cultural and heritage and architectural history of Holyoke.
I mean, I make a motion to vote on the historical significance for 348 Chestnut, 4852 Franklyn Street. Yeah, that's it. I vote for that.
I second.
Commissioner Mazzola,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Gotta unmute.
Yes.
Commissioner,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner
God, yeah.
Gauthier, Commissioner Aubrey,
Yes.
and Commissioner Salazar.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Excellent. So now let me try something here as we go to the next item. Doesn't work. So Let me close this and go share
So
screen.
I make a motion that we move to item number 4, the discussion of new sidewalks for the Hadley Fall Company Housing, Natural Historic District.
Ilana, I
We
Do
don't
we
need
have
to
to
make-
make a
we don't-
motion to move?
No,
no,
no.
Okay,
No.
I don't know what. Seems like we do, but
Only
okay.
when we change the order of the.
yes.
Okay, I'll keep my mouth closed.
All right, so, and I'm putting on the screen the preservation restriction for the Hadley Mill housing district. So we have Peter Palombella in the audience. I'm gonna bring you a little bit up to date. Commissioner, and Peter, I'm gonna do a short outline of what happened. Then you can speak and but if I'm omitting or misrepresenting something, please raise your hand. Don't
Okay.
interrupt me. Okay. So so what happened is Commissioner Israel Rivera has put in an order to redo the sidewalk in the flat, which is really good. But the sidewalk around the Hadley Fall Company Housing National Historic District are brick sidewalk. And they are at the point now that because of tree roots and just time, they are dangerous and they're not properly set for handicap access. Now, the Department of Public Work did not realize that the compound is an historic district. And I think they were planning to just come in and either pour asphalt or do concrete sidewalk,
Yeah, cement sidewalks.
which would be a very strong and I think problematic visual impact. Mr. Rivera was great. You know, Peter immediately started a very broad email. Mike Moriarty step in, several people step in, and there was a meeting on last Thursday, at the social center for
At the Flats Community Building.
yes. So basically, one of the things, and this is I would love the historical commission to be involved. So the building has a preservation restriction and it's a national historic district. The sidewalk belong and are the responsibility of the city. Still, I think it's it's plausible to think that the city should be held responsible to restore in a way that is historically mindful and also goes to best value. What we talked about in the meeting is possibly if this could be a CPA project, but it's complicated because, for instance, money has gone for city building, a lot for CPA. So like the window at City Hall, the lamp at City Hall, a few other things, but these are sidewalks that belong to the city, but the building doesn't belong to the city. Still, you know, there is a need to hold the city responsible to do the right thing. But we don't know if in CPA parameters that will work. I also suggested at the meeting that like for the window, there are the Friends of City Hall, that people at the Hadley Mill Housing Company building would start a group. And their group can bring forth a proposal, involve community, and do all of that. The other thing, though, I went and we will have, this is when we absolutely have to involve legal, because I'm looking at the preservation restriction here. And it's interesting because it says that this is old Holyoke, which is now One Holyoke, right? Changed
Correct.
name. And the Historical Commission both hold the preservation restriction. But it doesn't specify if either just one of them can approve of a project, or if we both have to say this is okay or this is not okay. It doesn't specify who has priority. Also, there are a lot of things that are out of date because, for instance, and we were talking with Peter about you cannot put antenna there, but now there are dishes on there, which go back something that we're working for the antenna in Chicopee. So it's the 1966 Preservation Act, and it's the section 106 that partially deals, among other things, telecommunication. But so there's a right to information and telecommunication, but does do single dish are part of that when a city has cable. So I think those are things worth looking into.
We had that discussion in the past there where people put up satellite dishes and then they were asked to take them down.
Uh-huh.
And it ended up at the time that you couldn't prevent any single homeowner from putting a dish or any object that was 1 meter square or smaller up under the federal rule.
Yep.
And that, of course, was trumped all the state laws and all our local historic preservation restrictions.
And again, I think it's it is possible that next year, actually, we're gonna get a graduate student in historical preservation who's at the same time taking a class in preservation law.
So yeah, there is a lot to unpack here because a lot of that stuff that was written in 1974 and a lot has
Exactly.
changed since then. We didn't have local historic districts at the time. The Historic Commission was seen as the overall district commission
Mhm.
for the district. And that's kind of been one of our problems the past couple of years is that the Historic Commission is up here doing its work, but it's not involved with our little district down in the flats.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's happening down there.
And again, we really want that to change the other, but I think the very first thing here, so there's two parallel things that have to go on. The first is that you guys organize and we make sure that funding is possibly found. I will write the city engineer, Chris Baker, and the Department of Public Works, saying this is a very, very delicate situation. So please don't do anything about the sidewalk until we explore the proper way to do it and if funding is available. But then legal has to look at this preservation agreement because again, right now, all preservation agreement have to be signed by the mayor. And this one is not, the two holders. So I want to make sure that legal gives me advice because the other thing I don't know, and this is something that is really important to me, I really want us to be out and enforce preservation restriction, but if a building doesn't, what is our recourse? Do we issue fine? Can we? So we have to look into that too.
So it sounds like there's a lot of unanswered questions on historical preservation for the Historic Commission there.
Well, again, it's not on historical preservation. The first thing is I want legal to review the document and tell me about standing and how to properly read it. Because and partially, if I go to the Department of Public Works or any other institution in the city, I want to make sure that I have standing.
Okay.
Make sense?
When was the restriction put in place?
72
74.
and
74, 73, 74, and 75. The work was, the project was, yeah, so we're,
What is that?
I don't,
Restrictions for 30 years.
but they've been renewed supposedly.
Is this an,
and that's why we need legal.
that's, all right.
And the other thing is that I want to ask, what happened when the document is outdated? Because again, you can't put antennas, okay? There were no dishes at the time. So are we allowed to interpret the language according to modern time? The dishes are today's antennas. You know, so that's why, but this is not the work of the commission. This is a work of the city solicitor.
So
Uh,
going forward, I'll be representing the Friends of the Hadley Falls Company Housing District. Currently, I could say we have approximately 18 members, and those are probably the people you saw in the meeting the other day when you zoomed in. I think there are 34 property owners currently in the district, but the brick sidewalks are only in front of 3 of the 5 buildings that are there. Cement sidewalks were put in about 20 years ago in front of one group of buildings, and the other group has very old cement sidewalks. And I think those the city's also getting ready to do some work on. So there's a mix of sidewalks in the district. And then I could never find out in the past if there was any sort of long-term plan on the vision for the district. Whether they wanted all brick done at one time or what the overall plan was, but they definitely do need to be repaired. There's really no ADA access on much of the old brick sidewalks.
And Mike Moriarty said that at a point, looking at historic photograph, that the brick might have been a change in the 70s, but that they were actually stone.
We don't know what they looked like before that period of time. I haven't seen any photos before that time that show the sidewalks specifically, but I do know there were brick sidewalks in other parts of the town, especially up in the tree streets. You'll see them where they've worn away on the back alleys and stuff. But I don't know about the flats.
So
I think that's the piece that, you know, is interesting to think about. Like, what are we saving? You know, like if we don't know, like, what was the real, like, you know, visual situation around the sidewalks? What are, if they were replaced in the 70s, what are we saving here? What is the historical preservation that we are pursuing? And I think I'm just thinking about like that, how bad is the state of those sidewalks, right?
They're bad where the trees are. The
Yeah.
trees have uplifted them quite a bit. I would say they're pretty, if you were in a wheelchair, they would be untraversable in many spots.
I mean, if there was a clear visual of like how was, you know, I don't know, 40 years ago, and we know that there's a goal in terms of what are we preserving, I think it would be fantastic to pursue that. But I think I don't see this here.
But we don't know. They might have been cement through the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, and before that they could have been brick. We really don't have any evidence.
And that's the job, the work right now, the homework, figure it out what's happening there.
But there's a few things here, which is in the 70s, when it was taken over as an historic project and completely redone, whoever was called in to do the full restoration decided that the brick was a kind of sidewalk that would heighten the look of the construction most. And when you go down, and there are pictures of when the project in the 70s was just finished, and it does architecturally make sense and visually make sense.
But this is a more aesthetical, you know, criteria. I'm thinking more about like what is the actual historical value of a sidewalk that was put together just to make the building look great historically. And I think I'm always on that line. I'm trying not to be very like stubborn. I think this is something that if there was a clear idea that in that sidewalk there was this brick that is like 100+ years old, let's go for it. But I think this is a situation where we have to kind of fix a problem that is affecting the population of an area. And if it's just to highlight the historical section of the building of any building, well, I'm not that sure about that.
Yeah, no, I take a different, a different approach because, and again, I think people cut the spending short when it comes to the flat. And the compound itself is a little jewel. So I think CPA would, within the logic of CPA, and considering that those sidewalks have been there since the 1970, I think it's money that could be given for the project, and why not? Why not help with that?
As long as we're not preventing for those sidewalks to be accessible for people. Like, I think, the canal walk for renovation looks great, but I think we have to be mindful that if there's, I don't know the status of the sidewalks, but I haven't seen them in person. I don't walk through them. Like, I don't have a real use for them, but many people does.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking more about like how, where I'm just thinking about this as an open question. I don't have a proper opinion. This is my angle for now. And I think that, yes, sure, we can get the funding, but that could be a 10 years like span project to bring something for the entire.
So we're looking at this as a CPA grant to pay the amount above and beyond what the city is prepared to pay to put in just regular cement sidewalks. So the city has always been prepared to do that. This is the third time, I think, that we've been approached by the city to have the sidewalks redone in 30 years. And the other two times we were like, whoa, we're really attached to our brick sidewalks. We really do like them, and we didn't want to see them torn up. But now we also have other issues we have to think about with these trees. Are the trees going to get replaced? Do we have any other telecommunications issues? Do we need to put pipes under there and all sorts of other things to think of through this project? And it hasn't been done now since 1974. It's approaching 50 years since the sidewalks were laid. So they're almost becoming historic in their own right.
And yeah, it's just 2 years. No, it's 72 or 73.
70, 73, 74, most of the work was
So,
done.
50 years historic.
Yeah.
So 2 questions. Friends of the Hadley Mill housing, are you going for a non-profit status?
No, we'll stay as a loose friends group. We are talking in the flats about creating perhaps a neighborhood association if we can bring enough people together, but that may take some work.
Contact CPA immediately, because you want to make sure that also that you are a group. Oh, okay. No, we were doing the city, right? We were doing but also, so the preservation, if you're just a friends group, the Preservation Trust can hold money for you. If you want to also raise money as donation. The Holyoke Preservation Trust
Oh, okay.
has been holding funding
Yes.
for people who wants to do a historic project, but they don't have a nonprofit status.
That's good to know.
Because a GoFundMe is also a good thing to put on the side.
I'm actually an advisory on the board.
Oh,
Yes.
Um,
I'm just not understanding. It's just the brick sidewalks, because I know, Peter, you said a little bit about the.
so there's other sidewalks in the flats that need to be worked on as well. There are cement block sidewalks that were done around the same time when other houses went in. They're not inside the historic district. Those cement block sidewalks are in really bad shape. The cement blocks in many areas have completely deteriorated almost to dust. So the city is looking at putting in cement sidewalks in those locations, according to City Councilor Israel Rivera.
Just, you're specifically, this is just the brick.
So this is about the brick
Yes.
sidewalks.
so, and these all got triggered because, I mean,
Right.
Councilor Rivera did the right thing. He said, we need sidewalks.
Mhm.
But then the Hadley Mill
Right.
suddenly, they found Department of Public Works were there saying, okay, we're gonna lift them up, and everybody was really upset. And actually, people that were at the group, there were people that just live in the neighborhood, but they're not in the building, but they delight in them. So the other thing that's important, it was funny to listen to people speak, because there were some really old timers there, and they would be saying, this is no big deal. You just lift a brick, yeah, but in fact, we have regulation now, safety code and all of that. You can't do it cheap anymore. So it is a big deal.
Well, to us, it's that way because we've been doing it ourselves all these years.
Wow.
Many of us have had, all the pointing just washes out and they get loose and they come right out.
Mhm.
So we've actually repointed them ourselves. I mean, I've done it at least 3 or 4 times, especially around the downspouts.
Yeah. And I understand that, but when it will come time to do it, to get funding, it will be a big bill that a lot of the older people will think that they're being ripped off. So I think it's really important to explain to them that we have so many regulation, and the cost of that kind of craftsmanship has gone up so much.
It's so true.
And because I don't want them to feel like we talk them into something that is a big ripoff. It's just understanding all the regulation and all of that. So, okay, so we'll do our work and you do yours.
Thank you.
And it's exciting.
Good to talk to you guys.
It's very good to talk to you. Wonderful. So we move to 0.5, and I will write a letter from 106 120 High Street for next time.
Okay.
The letter for I talked to Elizabeth Rockford and asked me the exact same letter that we wrote last time. This is for the Holyoke Medical Center. So I can pull it up, Chris.
No, I noted it. I just
Yeah.
had to think for a minute. Yeah, okay.
So basically, if we can vote for approval, and also I talked to Alisa Agustin for the Farr Alpaca Mill.
Mm-hmm,
They want the same letter.
mm-hmm.
I asked because I went to a meeting that they did a one cabot, and when they show the new addition and the catwalk.
Yep.
This time
The
look with a
siding,
different,
siding.
siding.
Yep, okay.
So I asked her about it, but she said, we're still deciding on the siding. And that's something that they have to negotiate with Mass Historic.
Okay.
So they asked for the same letter, if that's okay with the commission.
Yeah, yeah.
For 348 Chestnut, let me pull that letter. And, okay. So it's basically the same letter, but I simply add the relocation. Hold on, let me see so I can see it. The relocation process has started. The first group of tenants have moved out of the building into their temporary location, and construction of their units is set to begin. Apartments at 48 Franklyn will be renovated first, then units at 348 Chestnut, 52 Franklyn will be the last building to be renovated. The interior renovation process will last between 12 and 16 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else stays the same.
Okay.
So we're trying to prove this letter today.
The other two are exactly the same.
Yeah,
Please, this phrase was just added, so if there's a mistake, please let me know.
the
Yeah.
Holyoke is it's in the other page. I think it's not. It's, it seems like, yeah.
word doesn't know that word.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe the city is not capitalized.
Let's see. It's I capitalizes any time is holy. It can be substituted with
But
Holyoke,
instead of saying Holyoke.
but I don't have to,
We need the opinion of our professional
Yes,
editor,
Ilana.
Ilana.
Oh, yeah. I
It
think
doesn't really, I kind of agree with Paula, but if you're referring to the city.
Okay.
Using the capital should be fine, but
Okay, what's next then?
so. We need to approve a motion to approve the letter for the Alpaca Mill, 245 High Street, and 348 Chestnut and 4852 Franklyn.
Is the motion from all together, or we have to go one by one?
I think we
We
can
can
do,
do them all as one.
right?
Okay,
Go ahead.
I make the motion to approve the letter of support for Mass Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credits for Farr Alpaca Mill, 106, 120 High Street,
That wasn't written yet, sorry.
Farr Alpaca Mill, 245 High Street, and
Mhm.
348 Chestnut, 4852 Franklin Street.
My second.
Commissioner Aubrey,
yes.
Commissioner Mazzola,
Yes.
Vice Chair Gautier,
Yes.
Commissioner Salazar,
Yes.
and Commissioner Rodriguez.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Passes unanimously. Thank you. So for Blue Sky Tower, I've been in communication with Christopher, what's Christopher's last name?
Lucas. Was that
Lucas?
Lucas.
About they are willing to erect a new balloon. And we did a poll. I sent, because it's getting close.
Mhm.
I sent him some date for this week when there were at least 3 commissioners,
Mhm.
but he said that he won't be able to do it this week. But and he didn't give me any response for the week of the 20th. But I found out that they're talking about this project with the Historical Commission in Chicopee tomorrow. So I will be going down at 4 o'clock.
Well, 4 o'clock tomorrow.
To 4 o'clock tomorrow, and if somebody wants to join me, because Christopher Lucas will not be there, but the let me see.
It's at 4
Uh,
o'clock.
It's at 4 o'clock in City Hall in Chicopee, in
Can
person only. And so Blue Sky is meeting in Chicopee. So Christopher Luca works for Lucas Environmental,
Mhm.
which is a company that make sure that everything is done properly. And Blue Sky is a company that wants to put the tower up. So I think it will be good to make a act of presence and saying, we are concerned.
I don't think you're gonna get any more dates, until like probably the first week of January.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But basically this way we have a chance with the if I understand correctly, it might be a meeting of the planning department with the historical commission.
Tomorrow's meeting.
Yeah, and the historical commission is under planning.
Mhm.
So it'll be a chance to put on the record
Mhm.
that we are concerned
Mhm.
and that we have to be kept in the loop.
Okay.
So, as you remember, we had asked Jennifer to write a letter
Mhm.
for the planning board and historical commission.
Mhm.
I got one letter today at 2:30.
Mhm.
Which I didn't have time to review. I can show it to the commission, but it needs to be reworked. But I can put it up for you guys.
You want me to read it?
Oh, you got it too? Sure.
The Holyoke?
Hold on. Let me share screen. All right.
The Holyoke Historical Commission is currently discussing the tower that was erected at 939 Chicopee Street in Chicopee. The Holyoke Historical Commission respectfully request that when surveys are to be performed, which may affect the historic value of any portion of the city of Holyoke along the river, the commission be notified in advance, not only as a courtesy at the end. Thank you for your consideration of our comments.
So I think we need to rewrite it, and the tower has not been built yet.
So what are your suggestions? What should we put in?
So it's already 7 o'clock. So, and we actually have just a couple of more points.
Well, why don't we see how, I'll go tomorrow and
Okay,
let's
and
see
the-
how the meeting goes.
And
Yeah,
then
right.
we'll say, we will send you a formal letter.
I
Okay.
think that's
We'll
a
have time
And-
to,
Dude.
right.
And just one thing, but again, and it's my signature, I'm not super inclined to write the commission respectfully request. Also because just the format of a letter is respectful enough. So the formal, so I think, I think we exercise our right here.
Okay, I think Chris's point is great. Go to the meeting tomorrow, see what the
Perfect.
was like, and let's move on.
Man, we're doing good. Okay, so I believe we have Tiffany.
Trinity.
Trinity.
Oh,
Trinity.
God, Trinity Kendrick in Kendrick. Okay, in the audience, who maybe become our intern
Beautiful.
to organize the archives.
Perfect.
And Trinity, if you would like to give us and let me try to unmute you.
Hi.
Here we go.
She's good.
Yeah, if you would like to give us an introduction, and I hope we didn't scare you at this meeting. And
No. Hi, my name's Trinity. I'm a graduate student at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island, studying historic preservation. I did my undergrad in architectural studies at Mount Holyoke College, so very close by. And yeah, I hope to be considered for the position. Should I talk a bit about my experience?
yes, that would be great.
And also if you can raise your microphone, the volume of your microphone, because like you can barely hear you.
Oh, okay. It might be helpful for me to, it might be my headphones. I've never used these before. 1 second. Can you hear me better now?
Is it?
Okay.
The same, but
It's okay.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
Yeah. You're good.
All right.
Mm.
Never used those headphones before. So. All right. So my most recent experience was from October 2021 to May 2022. I worked at the National Park Service as a NICP intern. I was working in Washington, DC, and my main job was sort of surveying historic structures in the National Capital area and adding them into CRIS. So I am pretty comfortable with using CRIS. And then currently I'm a graduate assistant at Roger Williams, and one of the main things we're working on right now is scanning these archives. A local architect, William Warner, once he passed, he donated a lot of his plans and drawings to the university, and so we're doing the long work of scanning and organizing those archives. So that's kind of recently my experience. I've done a little bit of archives work too. It's a bit different, but I helped out with a film studio, sort of going through and helping organize their photo and film archives for a documentary. A little different than this, but I mention it. So.
And where did you also take any classes in, I don't know, library science and archiving or anything like that, or did you just learn from experience?
Just from experience. My undergraduate in Mount Holyoke doesn't really have classes, unfortunately, that have to do with library science or really even historic preservation. So I was mainly an architectural studies student, but I'm starting to learn that stuff now, and I kind of got thrown into CRIS at my last internship. So.
Great. And can you start right away?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can.
Now, this may seem like a strange question, but do you own a remote drive of your own?
I do not.
Okay, so we're trying to buy you a remote drive so that you can download the archive that are online as they are now. And then you can work on the drive at a parallel image. So a parallel organization of them. And then once it's done, it can all be uploaded.
Okay, yes,
So,
I haven't used one before, but I don't own one.
So what is your platform?
My like
Mac or PC?
I have a Mac.
Okay, very good.
You're hired.
You're hired. We hope we can get your drive as soon as possible, and so that you can start right away.
Great. Well, thank
And
you.
you'll be reporting just to us, just strictly to the commission.
Okay.
And what we would like to do maybe next week, any volunteer, we can have a meeting just to talk about what we would like to see done.
Yes.
Great.
And we'll do it through email. We'll do a little subcommittee.
Okay, I was gonna say a subcommittee.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do we have to make a motion to hire her?
I think we do.
I make a motion that we offer Trinity Kendrick the opportunity to be the intern for the Holyoke Historic Commission.
I second that.
Commissioner Aubrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauthier,
Yes.
Commissioner Salazar,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazzola,
Yes.
Commissioner Rodriguez,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. We're thrilled. And I just want to say, I was so impressed with your resume.
Thank you.
Yes. And we'll email about next week.
Sounds great. It's great to meet you.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah. So report on commissioner attending other board and committee meeting. And oh yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask, Joseph, have you been going to the High Street meetings? The business High Street?
The TDI,
Yes.
we went to the first one. They had one, which was the initial meeting to kind of finalize and talk about the budget. It was interesting. And what do you want to know?
Oh, nothing. I've been trying to get a schedule and to get invited to them, but I have not heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. My partner Jeffrey has kind of been taking the lead on that as far as from our business standpoint. I don't know that there is another meeting, like community meeting scheduled. The one we went to was business owners and things like that. And it was more kind of to discuss what we think the money should be used for and what we think the budget should look like. It was interesting. I think it's a good idea. I think just from our personal standpoint, we thought maybe some more of the budget would be going directly to businesses. But I think as they start to figure out what it's going to be and all of that, there'll be opportunity for more of that. But
Very good.
So for CPA, Paula actually was a big participant in the last CPA meeting. And actually several of the same players that were here earlier at our meeting today were at the last CPA meeting. So in reviewing the minutes from the last meeting, one of the things that was discussed was increasing the amount of meetings to allow for the presentations for the CPA. And what I'm concerned about is, that we have a handful of these projects, and as Paula has reported, the amount of letters has dropped, and we are, I think, understandably concerned about the lack of applications, and then hearing that the church is now back on the market, and so that whole change of zoning and all that stuff may very well be moot. But Paula, do you want to add anything to from the CPA meeting?
No, actually I don't. No. I think that covers it.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other meetings that people are going to? So there wasn't a tourism meeting this month. I think they're going to every other month. And I did get an invite for the next, the 150th. I think that was an invitation, or did you send that, Paula? The 150th thing. Anyway, that I don't know what other committees other people may be involved in at this point.
And again, the 150 is a social thing. So if you have the time, but it's not something that the commission is required to do. But any information that I get, I send it off your way, you guys.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay. Any other updates? Committees?
So it is official that Damian Cote is stepping down as commissioner. And so he's only, I think he's still working a bit part-time. But should we send a card as he has had a professional relationship with the historical commission for years? I don't know if we should send a thank you card for his work.
I don't see why not. I don't know that.
Email?
Does
it have to be?
Well, I mean, it's somebody, and he
has helped.
Yeah, and he has taken a lot of heat for Mater Dolorosa, and
It wouldn't be a bad idea.
So
And then he made it e-card then.
it probably will go to the spam. But I think, again, the road to hell is paved with good intention, but I might just buy a card and show up at your doorsteps.
So jokes apart, I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Excellent.
I think that's fine.
Right?
Okay.
I think that covers it.
Can I just bring up something very quickly?
Yep.
For new business? I spoke to Jennifer at OPID and they're actually using a pay service to draft minutes. They're using it with the Conservation Commission. It's $125 for 60 minutes.
Mhm.
It would be billed through OPID. I did ask because we don't have a budget. How would that
Mhm.
work?
Mhm.
And they would work on I guess like a line item for the HC for next year.
For
So,
next year.
Yeah,
For
It has to
January.
be approved by the city council?
yes, it sounds like it would have to be added. And a line item, is that how you say it?
Okay.
So just something.
So wait, can I just ask a quick question?
Sure,
So this would be a line item for the city council to approve for us, but other commissions that do have budgets, they don't have to seek approval, correct?
I don't know how that works.
We can find it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can.
So,
do some
and
research.
probably, actually, because if we can get that,
Mhm,
there are a lot more things that we need money for.
right,
So, but we have to see when the next finance committee meeting is in
Okay.
January,
okay,
because we might have
more.
a long line
Right,
of
right.
yeah.
What, on that aspect, what's going on with the drive? Have we?
So, Jennifer, are you there? Jennifer? Okay, never mind. But so basically I was told, so I asked, basically, we need a all proposal to get the drive.
What do you mean a proposal?
So has to be an email title, of drive for historical commission. Then we have to explain what the drive is for. And then we have to include the scope of work for the intern. So when I was told that, I said, great, can the staff write it for us? But I was told that it can only be written.
Yes.
Yeah,
Has to be,
so I was waiting for this meeting tonight to ask why,
okay,
but I guess we
Nobody-
can't.
okay.
So,
Can we at least get on it since we
yeah,
have an
I
intern
mean,
now?
this and 25 letters and
Right,
everything else,
right, I
but
know.
yeah, so if that's one letter that I would love somebody else to
I
write.
can do that.
That would be
Okay.
perfect.
But Louis, can you maybe specifics, storage?
Luis.
Louis, I'm sorry. It's been a- Specifics on storage or anything that I
Sure.
should,
Sure, absolutely.
okay?
Yeah.
All right,
Perfect. Oh, and we'll ask Trinity what kind of Mac she has. So we'll see what kind of, if it's a USB still or the new,
Both then any kind of hard disk comes with 2 cables now.
oh, great.
So
standard,
Okay, yeah.
that's normal, okay,
yeah, USB-C or USB-3.
that's all I
Okay,
have.
is there a new business?
Nope,
Nope. Any old business?
nope,
No,
I make a motion to end tonight's meeting. Of the
I
historic.
second. I
Okay.
second.
all in favor? Oh, no, I have to ask. Okay, Commissioner Aubrey,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazzola,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauthier,
Yes.
Commissioner Salazar,
Yes.
and Commissioner Rodriguez.
Yes.
All right,
Excellent.
next time, and the chair votes yes, and we are adjourned. Next time I'll
Nice.
put all your name in alphabetical order so we can go that way. And
Happy holidays, everybody.
exactly, have a
You
great
too.
holiday. We will see you on January, let me double check. January 9th, right?
Mhm.
My birthday.
Ooh,
Yay.
exciting.
Oh, wow,
Cake.
Capricorn, wonderful sign.
Bye.
And thank you all for coming, thank you.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone. Bye-bye.